Attorney Stephen J. Goralski, attorney in military law. Real quick, I'm going to go over the administrative separation process. So, administrative separation is basically an employment hearing. Is that individual guilty of what they are accused of? If so, should they be retained or fired? If they are fired, what is their quality of service? So, number one, first recommendation is basis. By a preponderance of the evidence, did they do what they're accused of? Okay. For example, say they're going to AdSep for a positive urinalysis. Okay. So by preponderance of the evidence, does the board believe that service member knowingly used drugs? If they answer yes, basis is met, then they go on to recommendation number 2. Should that service member be separated or retained? If they decide on separation, they go to recommendation number 3, which is, what is that service member's characterization of service? Is it honorable? Is it general under honorable conditions? Or is it other than honorable? And then 4 is, should that service member's separation be suspended for up to 12 months? Now, these recommendations go up to the separation authority, and he can give no worse than what the board recommends unless he goes to a higher authority, which they typically don't do. Now, the only recommendation he doesn't have to follow without going to a higher authority is recommendation number 4, which is, should we suspend the separation for up to 12 months? So even though the board recommends that, he can say, no, we're going to separate immediately. So at a board hearing, what you have is you have the government, which is called a recorder, and then you have the defense. In addition, you have the board members, which are typically an O4 as the president of the board. You have an O1 to O3 as the second individual, and the third individual is usually an E7 or higher. Okay, and those are the board members. And then you have an individual that, records the proceedings. So what happens is the board is formed, and then they go into questioning the board members to make sure that they're going to be fair and impartial. If not, the board members may be challenged. After that, the government makes opening statements, and then the defense makes opening statements. Then the government and the defense present binders with information regarding so the government gives a binder to the board members regarding the misconduct. For example, there might be lab reports in there. There might be counselings in there, etc. And then the defense also presents a binder regarding that service member with evaluations, fit reps, NCOERs, and also information about characterization of service, etc. And so those board members then review those binders for about an hour. Then they come back, and the government starts presenting their case. For example, in a drug positive urinalysis, they might call a drug expert. And then the defense will cross-examine that drug expert. And then after the government presents their case, then the defense gets to present their case. They present witnesses who will talk about the individual's character, their military character. They can also talk about whether or not they believe that the service member did what they're accused of. For example, service member has a positive urinalysis. Those witnesses can say, hey, I don't believe that he knowingly used drugs. Okay. After the defense witnesses, then the client, the respondent, can make a statement. He or she can make a sworn statement or an unsworn statement. A sworn statement, they're under oath. They can be cross-examined by the government, and they also open themselves up to questions from the board members. After the defense rests and they've presented all their evidence and they rest, then it goes into closing statements. Closing statements from the government, closing statements from the defense, and then a rebuttal statement from the government. So the government gets to have the last word. And then after that, the board goes into deliberations. So everyone leaves the room, board goes into deliberations. Hour later, 30 minutes, hour and a half, maybe longer, go back into the board, and then the board reads the findings. Was basis met? If so, separate or retain. If separate, what is the characterization of service? So that's basically the administrative separation board hearing in a nutshell. Take care, subscribe for more videos.